Welcome to Strategic Outlook. I'm your host, and today we're diving deep into one of the strangest obsessions in modern politics, Donald Trump's desperate chase for the Nobel Peace Prize. Yes, the same man who called global institutions a joke was once passionately campaigning for one of the world's most respected awards. Why was Trump so obsessed? What does this tell us about his psychology? And even more importantly, what global politics were at play behind the scenes? Let's decode this entire story step by step. It all started when Trump began promoting articles claiming he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. From Jerusalem Post to Washington Examiner, any piece that remotely praised him, he reposted on Truth Social. One of his posts even quoted a fringe group saying, "Don't call it the Nobel Prize, call it the Trump Prize." For Trump, this wasn't just about recognition, it was about legacy. He had money, power, fame, but not the one thing Obama had. And that's where this obsession truly began. Out of rivalry, not peace. See, Barack Obama received the Nobel Peace Prize in 2009, barely months after becoming president. At that time, Trump, still a businessman, openly mocked the decision, saying he didn't do anything, but deep down that moment scarred him. Obama once joked at a dinner, "At least I became president. Trump never will." Years later, Trump did become president, and that personal insult turned into a lifelong mission. If Obama got it for promises, I'll get it for results. But here's where it gets interesting. Trump tried to use foreign policy as a stage for this award. Every peace talk, every deal, every handshake, from North Korea to the Middle East, was presented as a Nobel-worthy moment. He literally asked world leaders to say publicly that he deserved it. Even Pakistan's then Prime Minister once stood at the UN and said, "Give the Nobel Peace Prize to Donald Trump." Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu shared symbolic images of Trump being awarded. It was no longer diplomacy, it was a global PR campaign for one man's ego. And then came 2025. When the Nobel Committee finally announced its Peace Prize winner, it wasn't Trump. The award went to Maria Corina Machado, a Venezuelan opposition leader fighting against Nicolas Maduro's authoritarian regime. The Nobel Committee said, "Freedom depends on those who refuse to stay silent." Powerful line, and a politically calculated one. Because while Trump didn't win, Washington's strategic interests did. Venezuela is already under U.S. pressure, and giving the award to Maduro's opponent fits perfectly into America's broader narrative of promoting democracy. So yes, Trump lost personally, but the U.S. establishment quietly won geopolitically. But here's the real twist. When everyone else ignored Trump's pleas, one man stood up for him, Vladimir Putin. Putin publicly said, "Donald Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize for solving complex global crises." And Trump? He immediately posted, "Thank you, President Putin." Imagine that, an American president thanking the Russian president in the middle of the Ukraine war. For many Americans, that felt almost surreal. Because this wasn't diplomacy, this was desperation. So what does this whole saga teach us? That in today's world, power and recognition often collide. The Nobel Peace Prize, once seen as a symbol of idealism, has become an instrument of political influence. Sometimes it rewards peace. Other times it rewards strategic alignment. And Trump's obsession revealed something deeper. When a leader starts using global diplomacy just to win personal glory, democracy begins to look a lot like monarchy. It's no longer about serving the country, it's about serving the self. So yes, Trump didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize, but he did expose how global awards, politics, and ego are all intertwined in this century's great game of influence. Let me know in the comments, do you think Trump ever deserved it? Or was the Nobel Committee right to ignore him?